Average Dude has something to say about...
Okay, this is part 2 of the situation dealing with Syria after the anniversary of, September 11th, 9/11. I went over in the first part how absolutely ridiculous the entire world is. When something bad happens, the world ignores it. They turn the other cheek. And then these people that are on the receiving end of a dictator, it's worse and worse. The suffering is horrendous. And then the world continues to ignore. They don't want to be involved. But then all of a sudden something really major happens, and then the rest of the world doesn't want to get involved. They're still absolutely dead set upon being selfish and worrying about themselves. But America at that point will finally decide, okay, we can't ignore this anymore. Now, there's always, let's face it, the United States has ulterior motives, the government does, and the people are different from the government. The people do not like, usually people in government, they don't like what their governmental officials do, all over the world. But bottom line is, I'm tired of hearing the criticism from all these other countries about the United States. Put up or shut up. And they never shut up. They never ever shut up. We have Russia interjecting, wanting to do this peaceful bit of giving Assad, Syria, the option of handing over the chemical weapons. Never going to happen, by the way. And we've done this before. Literally, look back at Iraq, Saddam Hussein, and all these other situations in the Middle East, and the playbook. It's the same thing. Oh, but don't think that the U.S. is it's only slightly better. I mean, the rest of the world are a bunch of do-nothings and criticizers. The United States will do something, but it still has ulterior motives. So think of how pathetic and how absolutely ridiculous the rest of the world looks. They're horrible. There's no good country out there, really, when it's all said and done. We have these world treaties, and they're not followed. You got the Geneva Conventions. There's 4 of them, by the way. The 4th one is the one that we tend to talk about. The last one, because we tend to refer to it as the Geneva Convention, even though there were 4 of them. Because aside from adding a 4th treaty, it also seriously modified the terms of the first 3. And these world treaties are all about, hey, what's allowed and what's not allowed, what you're not allowed to do to people. The Hague Conventions are another good example, because what happens with these treaties is these countries sign on the dotted line, but they don't deliver, and the UN is ridiculous, turns the other cheek. There are violations all the time. The world does not follow the terms of these treaties ever. That's how it is. That's how ridiculous these treaties are. Like every law, like everything, they have to be enforced and upheld. And that neither happens. So every single country is guilty of this, including the U.S., but also all those lovely countries in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe. I mean, they all do this. The world does this. They don't care. And then you will, when you're reading the history books, you will hear these nations make excuses as to why it was technically different and acceptable for them to do it, Agent Orange and all that nonsense. But they all do this. So I hear a lot of criticism about the U.S. Yes, the U.S. pulls this crap too. But then so does your country, wherever you are. They all do. The Hague Conventions included the whole issue of hollow point bullets. Dum-dums. Outlawed, banned, worldwide. And yet, they get used. They get used all over the place. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. No enforcement. It's not being upheld. So when it comes to the Geneva Protocol that's being talked about right now with the issue of Syria, not to be confused with the Geneva Conventions, because the Geneva Protocol in 1929 specifically addressed the ban of gases, biological, and chemical weapons. And that's the hot issue right now. And what's going to happen, because we've been going through this over and over and over, is that global inaction is the problem. Hey, Barack Obama was right about that. Although he's an idiot for continuing to follow through the same song and dance that we've been doing, that every country has been doing for quite a while. I mean, good God. Assad is being given the opportunity to hand him over and surrender, and he said he's going to. So he's admitting that he has them. He's going to hand them over, and guess what's going to happen? He's going to drag his feet and drag his ass, because he's in the process of shuffling all that proof elsewhere. He wants the evidence gone. And the United States is going to be so pissed and upset to the point where, and we've done this before, going to look at Russia and say, screw you, we're going in, get in our way, and we bulldoze your ass. And that is going to happen. We are going to have soldiers on the ground. We are going in eventually. It's going to happen. And when we do, there's going to be a lot of loss, a lot of it. We're not going to find the weapons of mass destruction, but at least it's going to put a halt to the crap that's going down. But it's a horrible price, and all because the world doesn't like getting involved. The United States, the World War I and World War II, the United States didn't want to be involved. Horrible things were happening on the other side of the world, and America didn't want to get involved, but then when it became personal, America got involved. That's how the world is. They'll criticize, but they don't want to get involved until it happens to them. And that's my criticism when it comes to the rest of the world. Russia, what the hell? Get involved. Putin, take your country's money and your country's citizens and actually do something, or shut the hell up, you little shit. And the same thing goes for, where's China in all this? A major world power. Why is it that the other two major world powers can't do any humanitarian work? Oh, and speaking of humanitarian work, let's talk about 1/4 of the entire planet gets ignored all the time. Let's talk about that. You see, when was the last time that any country on the eastern half of this planet ever helped anywhere else, anything or anyone on the western half? Think about that. When was the last time? Think. They don't. They never do. They don't help the West. They never help the West. They ask for the West's help to save their sorry asses when things go wrong, but they're not there to help or reciprocate. Israel, where are you? Okay, South America, Central America, and now Mexico. Hell on earth. For decades, you have these drug lords and their renta armies. Any military could easily just go in and just move along and up the coastline and start cleaning house. No government, no military in the world bothers. The East never helps out the West in areas that absolutely... You don't think that South America and Central America and now Mexico citizens seriously need help with these beheadings, these kidnappings of their young girls or boys, and human trafficking and all the drug problems and all the violence? Yes. And let's talk about North America. What does Canada do about that? Canada doesn't help anyone. Canada's pathetic. And the United States looks bad. To the best of my knowledge, since those beheadings were starting to happen and the violence actually made it up the waters into U.S. territory waters, on the Texas end, when it came to all this violence a few years ago, I believe that our government sent, one unit down there for a 24-hour period. Anybody please correct me if I'm wrong about that, but that's all I've heard on that end. We're certainly not considering our own half of the world a priority. And this is the 1/4 of the world that has been ignored for so long. The whole world is completely and totally full of shit.